Okay, so we are live now. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome back to the Knowledge Hub session organized by Rise Jhansi Smart City Incubation Center. So, we are celebrating Innovate and Accelerate Week. In this special week, we have an intensive 5 days workshop on technology, skills, and its requirement and importance. So today we have a very special guest, Anubha Bhargava. So on behalf of Rise Jhansi Incubation Center, we welcome you, ma'am, for this session.
Thank you so much, Ankit, and the entire RISE team. It's an honor to be part of this session, and I feel very privileged that this opportunity has come to me. Thank you for this.
Right. So the objective of this 5 days workshop is to equip startups with latest technology skills and insight essential for scaling their ventures. Today at day one, we have a session on understanding technology fundamentals and how to manage and own technology assets. So, as we all know, there is a huge role of technology when we talk about to scale our own venture. And without technology, we cannot imagine a single day of a startup success. So, yeah, we all are very excited to start our 5 day workshop with a first day topic on understanding technology fundamental for startup founders. So, I humbly request you, Anubhava, please start today's session. And our majority of the startups will join live from YouTube. And at the end, we will take a few questions from the startups.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Ankit, and thank you, team. Again, like I said, that it's an honor to be part of such a great cause, and yes. So just to start that what Ankit has talked about, that I have 17 years of experience in this industry, and I know the technology in and out. I worked on web application, mobile application, Azure, which is a cloud these days, and a little bit of AI ML and the data side of it, right? So I have seen uh, the whole, I would say that the structure of any application or any organization, when we build, when we sell any idea, how this basically is how that idea is built, right? Now coming to the understanding of the fundamentals of any startup, right? uh, what to me it feels that startup is nothing but an idea, right? How quickly you can sell that idea, right? Any given day, if you see that this time you have a Postgres, some within 5 minutes you can build a website, right? This is what is available these days. But is this the right solution, right? Building a website is one thing. You can just showcase your idea. That's absolutely fine. But that what happens when you take that idea and people start consuming that? That is when you have to see that how strong your website is, how reliable your website is. If five people are logging in your website for any idea, say for example, I would say that the banking application, right? You are going to sell, or maybe a e-commerce site, right? You are going to sell a product, right? Five people are joining, or they are accessing your website, no issues. Your website is working fine. You have thoroughly checked everything, and everything is good. What happens if the number of customers are increasing from 5 to 5K? Will your website be responsive enough? The same response will you get, right? Sometimes what happens is you are just getting the symbol like loading, 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 right? You are not getting a response. At the end of the day, you just get fed up with that, what's going on. So these are some of the things, not just to ensure that your business is sustainable, it is all scalable also, right? I'm just not here for a 1 or 2 year. I'm not, your business is not going to be 1 or 2 years, it is going to be forever, right? That's the whole intent of. So it's important to look for the fundamental of any startup, right? Are we going for the next page? um okay. So what essentially is my website, right? So say for example, if I'm going to go for any website, which is the first three things which we see is www.abc.com. right? ABC could be your domain. Now that is your domain, .co.in, .com, .in, .eu, right? Anything. So these are the domains which are there, right? So my website has to be hosted, right? So it is easily accessible to people, and that is a name which is given to my website, to the name you call it anything, right? That is the hosting name. Now, how essentially it works is, the minute I type www.abc.com, that ABC goes to a DNS. That is where my domain is registered, right? So when you browse something, this is how it goes. The first part is your browser. The second part, it goes to DNS to see that the DNS is correct or not. And then it returns the web server. It goes to web server, gets that web page, and displays on your UI, right? That is the whole process of it. So that is the background. So first thing, to have any business idea, you need to have an address, right? So that is your address. How you say that I live in so and so place to 101, or some gully, or some landmark you give, right? That is your address. That's your home address. So for your business to get started, your home address is required, and home address is nothing but your website, right? So you have to register that. You have to do a registry like you do for your house. The similar thing, you have to register the DNS, right? So that is your domain. That is a domain which you do that. Now what happens when you have a domain which is registered? Your website is nothing but two things. One is your UI, which is like HTML, CSS, which is built on your Angular or React or any UI you take it, right? And the other one is your backend, wherein your web services, your APIs are connecting to your application server, right? Which is actually storing your data into the database, and fetching the data back to the UI, right? So that is when your application is. So it basically has two things. So first, you type your www.abc.com, it the browser sends the request to your DNS. DNS some comes it back and say that, hey, this is my DNS. It goes to a specific IP. So DNS is internally associated to an IP. That IP is belongs to a web server. That server could be hosted anywhere, right? In this case, if I'm assuming we are working on cloud, then of course it's a Azure, or any GCP or AWS, you can take it. Or if it's a on-prem, which is a physical server, it can go to your laptop too, right? If the IP matches, then your whatever is hosted, and say for example login page comes, right? That login UI page comes, you enter your name, uh, ABC da 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 da, and then you enter. Then when you enter that, your API hits back, your login is submitted, the validations are done, and then it goes back to your web page, which is in the database, finds, okay, this particular user is already there, gets a detail for that person. Then it says that welcome Anubha, or welcome ABC, or welcome Ankit. That is when the entire process comes into the picture, right? So that is your code, that is your content which comes on the code. um, so like I already talked about, right? Your domain name, your hosting, this is exactly what I was talking about. When you have a domain, then you have to host the website, right? Where you are hosting it. You are hosting it on IIS, which is a server. You are hosting it on any WebSphere, or in this case Azure. You want to host it on web application, right? Web app, that's what you say. So these are the things. Now at times you have to feel that what is missing is specific to your website, right? Say for example certain images are required. Where are you going to keep that content, right? So you have to have that content specific to your website. Or say for example in this case, um, you want to say that, hey, I'm giving some people are asking certain questions. If you are from the medical profession, or you want to have certain idea, you want to give that content, right? So that content is also in your content management system. That could be your data storage, again, like NoSQL, or you want to keep it in a CDN, right? In this case, Azure's case, which I can say content delivery network, that is when you are keeping your specific images, your anything you want to keep it, which is a binary large objects kind of a thing that you want to keep, right? um, and then it's like a design and development. I'll come to that part. Like how structured your design should be, and how important role a basic design plays when it comes to your website. Okay, I'll give you one example. If you go in Google, right, what do you see there? It's a simple blank page with one text box and one button. But what wonders does it do, right? It's next level. Similarly, if you see that, there are certain some websites wherein you go, that the look and feel, the first thing you see that, right, what is the look and feel? It is uh, it is user friendly, right? uh, Wherein you see that, I can find certain sections very easily, right? You go to Amazon, right? You find, okay, what are the men's apparel, what are the women's apparel, what is the home material. This is very unique, you find it. At the same time, there are certain websites wherein the user experience is very very complicated, right? I don't find that it is user friendly. It is not that simple. Where can I go and log in? Where can I just go and submit my queries? It becomes little complicated, right, at times. It is very important from the look and feel standpoint. If your website is the first thing, it has to be very very responsive. It shouldn't take like 10 seconds or 15 seconds to just load the page. It should be minimum within 5 seconds, right? People these days say that less than 1 second, right? It should be very 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 fast. And at the same time, it should be very user friendly, because these days, how much ever efforts you put to put that idea, if your website people are not using it, they are not finding it user friendly, they like, okay, they leave it. I'm just not going to use it. So that is also very important. Now, how you make those? So there are certain guidelines, right? What are the things on UI? you know we keep those UI guidelines into the picture, keeping in mind that, your certain section in your left pen, certain sections would be on your header, your footer. What are the things you have to keep? So Angular does provide that. If you are interested in that, then yes, there are multiple guidelines. If you see in the picture also, right, what are the good architecture and what is the bad architecture of a website? So it clearly talks about that. Any e-commerce site you go and talk about that, this is exactly what happens. So you have to follow certain guidelines on that, right? How your pages are rendering on the UI, that is very important. Okay. um, Next thing. All right. So like I was talking about, right, it's important to follow certain rules on your UI, right? Where should be your brand logo? What does your brand logo says that, right? If my website is, say, for example, Anubha something, I want to keep that. That has to be my logo, and it has to have a meaningful, logo per se. So logo design is very important, and it has to be very very meaningful what you are saying. And it should be very very clear, right? If you say Amazon, it has to be in left, right corner. Okay, so this is what my uh, top right corner, wherein I'm going to keep it. Or there are certain login buttons, which is my top left top right corner. This is where I want to keep it. So these are the fundamental thing which you should keep in mind whenever you're designing. You just cannot afford to miss out on these basics. This is basic. This is the rule, right? We just cannot get rid of that. Now, the second thing is lead generation, which is like time to market. My idea is good, excellent, I have a good idea, I got the I feel that it has a potential. But if the time to market for any idea is very very big, like I want to sell my idea, say, in a month's time, there are people who can do it in a week's time, राइट? सो एक आइडिया है जो 1 महीने बाद जा रहा है, और एक आइडिया है जो सिर्फ एक हफ्ते में भी अवेलेबल है. There is a difference, right? I want to tap that market as early as possible, right? There are ways to it. Now, the customer engagement, of course, like I mentioned, that customer queries are there. They want to ask questions. Where are they going to have the connect with that, right? So either you can have your customer service or customer services agents, a portal, a separate portal wherein they can chat. These days they have the bots available, right? Which is very interactive. They ask the question. You have chat GPT, you can incorporate those. You have bots which are answering, right? The chat bots, they are available. Multiple ways you can do that. And of course you have call center agents too, and sales and marketing, of course. So there should be a proper brand, there should be a proper a customer engagement, which is basically like, I have to solve my queries. And the sales and marketing team, say for example, if you're selling something, who is the right point of contact for them, right? So the information of all the team, right, team members, what you're selling, and good information about what is your product, and what is that, in which segment does that product fall into, what are the key features of that product, of course. So those details, like a home page, a landing page, right? So that is what I want to, as a customer, I want to know that, right? So these are certain things. And of course, when we are entering into or tapping these areas, it is important for us to just enter as early as possible. So time to market is a key, right? There are multiple. From my experience, I can share that, right? In one organization, the same idea is sold by 3 or 4 different teams, right? But what happens is the team which does it first gets the limelight, right? So we have a stakeholders within our organization, right? So i- if you are going for a customer, you are building a product, right? I have an idea, I can say that, hey, this is my product, let's just go ahead, and I have a team which is building on it. But it's taking for my team, it's taking, say, a month or a quarter to reach into the market. And there are some team members who are doing it, like, say, in a couple of weeks time. Then of course they will be available in no time to just explore the opportunity. So these are some of the things which we should keep in mind. All right. So one another thing which I feel which is important is mobiles, right? So mobile app for startups. Website is very robust. Even today, if you see that, if any banking application or banking transaction you have to do, you will rely on its website, right? But mobile app, what it does is it actually give you the ease of accessibility, right? I need not to log into my laptop or my ipad. I have my phone. This is the easiest thing a person can do on my fingertips. If I say that, uh, things, applications are also accessibility range. The first thing they check is the accessibility range. Can I do it from the right hand as quickly as possible? I can download that app and install it. So this is what is important. And why is it important for your business is this: because the reach is good, people are able to access your app as much as possible, right? They need not to log in, and all the hassle of logging in the laptop, going somewhere else, and the it's available to you. And then sometimes you have your, not just for the website, but for the mobile application, you have offline access, right? You need not to be connected with the internet of every time. You have certain data which you downloaded, and you can access that, right? So these are some of the advantages of you have the when you have a mobile app for your business, right? For your startups, so to speak. Okay. uh, that's again pretty much same for the mobile application also, right? Mobile application, if I say that, right, they also have the same thing. You are working on an application. That application could be, I think, when I started mobile development, which was in 2011, right? At that point in time, it was just a Windows application wherein you are building a mobile application. Say for example, you are building for Windows, right? I can just build a mobile application for Windows. I can put it on the App Store, and only Windows user or Windows phone can download that application. But come to 2024, in fact, I think 4 or 5 years back, when you are building a mobile application, but it can be used by any operating system, be it iOS, be it Windows, be it any other Linux or any other operating system. So so the thumb rule is, what is your front end? Your front end is important, the UI, right? What are the UI guidelines you're facing? It shouldn't have more than 2 or 3 pages. Like, this is the detail, they say that, right? It has to be the rendering time. The UI rendering time is very important. Your HTML, CSS, or be it built on Angular, right? That has to take minimal less than 5 seconds on your rendering on your page, right? Now you have a backend. When you say backend, is basically your APIs, right? So APIs in which your application is talking, that is your C sharp, that is your Java, Python, or any other language, you see that you're building your API, your core logic you are building in that. That is your backend, that is your API. Now, hosting domain is basically your wherever you are going to host that application. It is like the, again, I said that your www.abc.com, that is your your app is hosted, right? So those are some of the things which are important. Now, in this, there are multiple other sections also which I will be talking about later, because mobile app can be when we are just SDK is a new version also, right? It is basically my SDK wherein I say that, hey, this is my SDK, this is a software development kit which has my UI, which has my APIs and my backend. I'll give it to you. What you do is you either can use that SDK in your other environment, you can host it, right? Especially on the insurance domain, banking domain, this is what is happening these days, right? Because there are multiple partners, they want to go through some insurance players. Say for example, mx is a credit card, or I would say that the card company. But then if they, you want to buy an insurance when you're traveling, right, that insurance goes to some insurance other company, right? Now how the navigation is happening from a website, right, to another website, that is seamless. So either you can get it as the embedded, which is like, white label one, you don't even find any difference when you are moving from one website to another website, right? Or you are telling that, hey, there will be a slight difference when I'm moving from my website to, and I'm redirecting it to another website which is a deep link, I'm going somewhere else, then there will be a slightest difference on that. So all these parameters are taken into consideration whenever you are designing this application, right? Not just the front and back end, and of course how you are packaging and integration basically, right? So there is a third thing called integration with other systems too, if at all you want to do it business with other applications too. Yep. um so yes, this is why not this benefits. If I have to tell you that it's just not the benefit, it is the need of the hours, right? Website is just not the it's not I would say that it's a luxury to have, it's a need, right? If I have to sell something, I'm gone are the days when people will say that, it's this is my card, or these are the things, or a pamphlet or a paper. Nobody is really going to look at that. Everybody says just show me your website. But then in my leisure time, an important thing is, right, you are going to meet the customer, they don't have time at this point in time. What end of the day you do it? Earlier they used to call, when you give your business card, they used to dial in, they used to give you a call to get more details about it. But these days, everybody, what they think is, I can go and google about this website, where is this website, what are the details available. So for that, it is important to build your credibility, right? You're building your credibility that, hey, here we are, you can find anything and everything about us, right? So to build a trust, to build a credibility, it is important that you have a solid and a robust website, right? And of course, when I have a website, I can, any at my home's comfort, I can go and access that website. So accessibility and reach becomes, easy. Cost effective in a sense that, you don't have to travel and meet again and again, and anybody and everybody who wants to access that, they just can access my website. This is, hey, this is where my details are available, my, this is what we do, this is my product, these are the success stories, right? These many customers are onboarded, these are the product selling has happened, all the details, all the statics, right? All the stats are very very important. So I would talk about the insights, why insights are very important for any website. When you talk about, right, what are the success stories, right? What are the, the how many people have liked it, how many people have subscribed it? This data is very important, right? So data, when you talk about this data, like from year January 2024 till come August, this is the percentage increment in my, subscription of my application, right? These many views have come to my website, meaning people are showing the interest. And these details are very, very important, right? For any website, you take it or you leave it, but this data talks. People can log into your website, but they might not be having patience to go each and every detail. There could be a chance, but then what attracts is the data, the simplified data, right? So the insights are very important, the first and foremost, and the data visualization, right? How you are presenting the data. From January till August, 1,000 customers have registered. How you want to project that, how you want to visualize that, so that it is become, eye catchy. Okay, this is the data. It is attracting something, right? So this is a kind of result, how you want to show the analytics, basically, right? In the analytics world, you want to just present that. So that is your data visualization and your analytics. That's again your website can give you. So this is just to boost your likes or your production up. That's important. So website is important for this. Yeah. All right. um Native and hybrid approaches, right? I was just talking like a while back, um, why it is important to have a mobile application, right? So mobile application is basically important for me to, because everybody has this mobile is a new pen, basically, right? Older time people used to say that I have a pen. Now these days people say that they have a mobile, right? Pen is, they can note down everything, they can just remember everything. Some people just take it for everything, right? For that reason mobile is important, and your mobile app is important, because ease, accessibility, right? That's reaching. Now how you're building your mobile application, right? So these days you're building your application, be it on Android or OS iOS, right? You're building your native application. Now there is something called hybrid. Hybrid is also a term as responsive UI. So say for example, if you're building on a website, okay, I'll give you a simple example. Now that website, if you go to and see that there is some term called browser stack. In browser stack, if you put your website and you see that how will it render on an iPad, how will it render on an iPhone, how will it render on an Android, all the Samsung phone or Apple phone, that this is what it says. So that you can use, that website you can use, again it's a CSS HTML, right? In your Angular material view, it's available. Now this is what is called your hybrid. It is again a native app which you can install, but at the same time it can work on your website too. uh, One simple example is WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is your app and WhatsApp works as your web as well, right? But there are certain apps which are just app, they do not have the website material of it. So again depends on your uh, business need. Do you really think it will work as a hybrid model? You have to take a call, right? Like my business says that it's just mobile is fine, because right now I'm tapping to the customer who are just using mobile app, but later point in time we so build in the design phase, your the architecture has to be strong enough so that tomorrow you don't have to spend a lot of time, right? Like readily you can take those CSS HTML pages, your APIs, you can deploy it into other cluster, and then boom, your native application is ready. So we have to think about it, considering the design in in that sense. Um, so this is nothing, no difference, right? So when we are integrating a website and mobile app, it's exactly the same thing, right? I was talking about just a minute back. This is what it is. So whenever we are having a website and we are making it a responsive enough, right? So that the same website can be rendered. I'm not building a mobile app per se, but the same website can be rendered on my mobile app. That is one way of doing it. Or you can have a dedicated mobile app, right? So that is when you see that I'm just having the same code, same APIs, right? If a API you are using for login, validation, putting database, any CRUD operation you want to do from that website, you can do exactly the same thing from the mobile. So website is, sorry, web backend is going to be the same. Your UI is going to be the same. So what is just changing? Your authentication, right? In mobile app, say for example you are giving this authentication from your thumb, which is not needed on website, right? So these are the certain aspects which are more in mobile, right? However, in website, you might not need it. You would need captcha, you need some security aspects of it, right? But in mobile, you might not need those. So this is a basic difference, but net end of the day, if I say that, they have to be exactly same, just to control your business cost, because tomorrow you don't want to spend extra time to build another, you know mobile application. Whatever you have built on website, that might easily work on that. You don't have to spend time on your API. Hey, just little bit of changes would require on my mobile app, and that is okay. So that's about your difference between your website and mobile, right? Like I was talking about, just front end, back end, and your hosting is one part of it. Where does your data go? Okay, so very important thing these days is everybody wants to search so quickly, right? So there is something called read of the database, which is available on SQL, NoSQL, and data storage. So SQL is a standard database, right? Standard query language, which is just coming for from working from ages, right? So I have my data. I'm keeping my employee information. I'm keeping my customer information in a structured manner. That is called RDBMS is called. And then comes NoSQL. It is not structured. It can be my database is like a document, right? So in my document, what I'm keeping an entire Excel file, right? That could be my one document. It is keeping the storage as an object. So my object is getting stored in my NoSQL. However, in SQL, what I'm keeping is my relational database. So I have a primary key. I have my employee primary ID, employee name, employee age, employee address or pin code. This is the thing. But in NoSQL, what I'm going to keep is employee address, employee work history, everything in one document, right? So that is one document. It is having one unified name. Now, why it is NoSQL is coming into the trend these days? So very simple thing. I was just talking about search. I want to make everything very fast, right? I don't want to make 100 joins or calls again to SQL is good for your enterprise, but you want to make e-commerce, then it makes sense that you are going for NoSQL, because everybody wants to search. Imagine like thousand and thousand of customers using your application via mobile, right? It's to make it scalable. It's important that you have to have your response time very quick, and that is what NoSQL gives. Okay, so no denial on that SQL is robust or Oracle is robust, but the NoSQL has its own advantages, right? When you have high volume, high traffic is coming on for your website, then you have to keep your NoSQL ready, right? So one thing which I would like to say is building a website is important. You also need to ensure how you are going to make it scalable, right? The scalability could be vertical and horizontal, meaning you can put two or three or four or 10 different web servers to increase your web pages, or you can increase the same size of your CPU RUs on your SQL, how much storage you can provide, right? So those kind of a thing. So scalability is important, and scalability will increase your reliability of your website, right? Now the data storage is again talks about, you want to keep any data storage, which could be say blob, okay, any binary large object files you want to keep. That could be your images, right? That could be your folders, that could be your JSON files, right? Where are you going to keep it? Those things you are going to keep it in your data storage. So this is important, right? So uh, any cloud, if you go that, right? And there is one more part I would like to add is networking, right? So three fundamental things whenever we deploy or host on Azure or any cloud, say for example, right? So that is your compute is nothing but your hosting, right? Your website, your UI, that is your compute, right? Then comes your networking, where you are going to host it, right? So how you are going, how your networking is going to be in when you are becoming big, then of course you have to think about that. And the third thing is your data storage, right? Because trust me, people pay a lot on their storages, believe it or not, but these days the storage is basically, data is the new currency, right? So the more you have a data, the more you are rich, but at the same time you're leaking from when you are paying more for from the data storage standpoint, right? So yeah, these are the things, some of the things which we need to keep in mind. Relational database, yes, go for SQL. Anything which is e-commerce, you want to think that I want to make it a fast search. And of course there is one more concept called read and write. You want to keep read in one server and write on another server. That is altogether a different approach. When we implement, we get to know about it. Okay, what are the design trade-offs we have to keep, and we do keep in mind whenever we design the large scale systems. Yeah, and data storages as well. So one thing I did not mention here is where you are going to host your application. These days your customer base, not only in India, which is, if I say that it's Asia, it could be EMEA, which is Europe. It could be APAC, which is, of course, Asia. It could be North America, right? So different regions are there. Now, where you are going to keep your data center, where you are going to host your application. So these things you have to keep in mind, right? Of course, and why it is important, because we think about it, right? Whenever we are building a system is just not 1 or 2 days. So to reduce the cost of revisiting that, we need to consider these designs, right? These design ideas, these designs, architectural designs, so to speak, we need to keep in mind and before we start it. Yeah. Yes, data is your currency. I just said that, right? How will you protect your currency? It's important. We are seeing that, this attack, cyber attacks are happening. Ransomwares are coming every now and then. Very recently we have seen that the attack which had happened, and all the websites, all the airlines, as they were shut down. It's just that it was not an attack. Basically it was a file which was wrongly inserted in the production, and yeah, somebody else's fault. But then yes, these are the some of the things wherein we need to ensure. So what do we do with that, right? So security aspect of it. So best authentication, authorization, right? From the security standpoint, not everybody should be able to log in. When we are log in, how we are authorizing them? I can see there are two things, right? uh, I can go to your house. Say, for example, you invited me. I can go to your house. I can come to, at max, I can come to your drawing room. But you will not give access anyone to go to your bedroom or kitchen, right? That is the authorization. Only certain people can go there, your family members or your special friends. That's exactly your authorization. I can authenticate you. You are my friend. You can come inside. But then I cannot give you the access to go to anywhere inside my house. Right? That is what authorization is. So that is the security aspect of it. That is one part of the security. That the other part of the security is anything which is happening in my application. Say, for example, SQL injections are happening. I know that, I'm typing that select star from so and so. I know, if I can try 2 or 3 times, I can just go to your table database and I can get all the details, right? That those are the security aspects you should keep in mind. Network security, that's exactly what I was talking about. When you are working on any hosted environment, which is on cloud environment, the first thing you have to keep in mind is networking, right? What is the networking? We are using virtual network. Then what are the DNS we are using? We are using VNet, subnet. What is my IP range, right? These are some of the things which we need to keep in mind. And of course, firewall settings. What is my firewall? What are the best things which I can keep, that nobody should be able to break my firewall, etc. Right? Data encryption. So this is again the same thing, right? If I'm going to keep, first of all, what data you are keeping. It's a PII data. It's a high sensitive data. You cannot keep credit card information on the database without securing it, without encrypting the data. You cannot keep any data. You have to you have to classify the data. So the data classification is important, right? If I'm keeping some certain personal information, that is a PII data. I'm keeping information, say these are my customers, but customer information, that's not a sensitive information, this is available on the public domain as well, that's well and good, right? So we have to classify the data. Data sensitivity is important, and when we are keeping that data with us, we have to encrypt the data. So tomorrow, if even though uh, if by chance if the data leakage happens, nobody should be able to encrypt decrypt the data, right? And then yes, so regular password updates, regular certificate updates, right? Certain websites they use this SSL certificates, right? So SSL is basically HTTPS, right? So that is your secured website, right? So why is it important? Because it's a trust set up between a web server and a DNS, that hey, this is my site. Only when the authenticated request is coming, a tokenized request is coming, then only the data will be revealed. If the certain token is not associated in the header, I will not return anything, right? So the token, the special token which is generated, the JWT token or any token which is there, how basically you will trust me that I'm the right Anubha or not. The token associated with my name will be given. So the regular certificate updates is important too, right? We need to update the certificates and upgrade our systems. Correct? Yeah. So these are the security patches we generally companies they do it. Uh, AI is basically like I just mentioned that AI is not necessarily it's a tech or non-tech startup. It's basically a data visualization. How much information do you take? How much you see? How much eye catcher your presentation is, right? A presentation has got nothing to do with your tech or non-tech, but how beautifully you can present the data, and AI does those wonders for you, right? Like I said, that from January till August, say for example you have 1,000 customer, base increased, right? The customer base increased by say 50% or so. How you are going to present that? That is what is going to the AI which does for you. That is the presentation the AI does for you. What is the projection, right? It is just a past, but if with the same pace we go, in another 8 to 9 months, it is estimated, this is the forecasting, right? So the forecasting says that another 8 to 9 months, the customer base will get increased say by 60% or 40 odd percent, right? This is the pattern. This is what it says, that this is the pattern which is going on, right? So we need to talk, we need to see that if this is a pattern, my customer base, the forecast is going to be this. We need to see that, right? Chances are there, right? You must have used any e-commerce site. If you browse one particular type of apparel, say for example you browsed a lunchbox for your kids, the next time what you see is you might like this, you might like this, you may like this also. How these search patterns are coming, they are tracking the record that so and so person at so and so time, like even not just for the day, if even though if you see the history, what you are searching on a daytime, what you're searching on a night time, what you're searching on a noon time, it's different, right? So how it is being tracked, this is to tap on the customers, right? It is just playing with their mind at times also, but then this is to know the need of your customer. This is to ensure that whatever they are searching for, you are valuing them, right? So you are knowing your customer. AI will help you to know your customer better, right? And it is very very important to know your customer when you are into the business. Yep. That's about it for the site. Yes. So anything for the tech startup, say I have an idea, first and foremost you have to see that how quickly I'm going to put my idea into the market. That should be your first motive, right? Because you have to reach out to the customer. Now what is the right technology you have to use, right? Which can reduce the lead time, right? And again, the scalable architecture, right? So today you are using some 5 customers are using, but you have to design an architecture in such a way that tomorrow 5,000 customers are using, and there is no downtime, there is no downtime of your application to upgrade it or maintain it. The application is working smoothly, right? So that is important. And vertical or horizontal scaling, which I was talking some time back, that's important too. You have to consider in mind. And it's one thing, anybody who is a good architect, they would think about what are the design principles we have to use, what are the design patterns we have to use. Not just this, we have to consider these things in mind. uh, Database design, there are just not database design, there are the data strategies also, what data you want to keep. Okay. Data classification is important, data sensitization is important, not production data, anything which is in production you can keep it in the lower environment. Data security, data sensitivity is important for that, right? Now, uh, again, the design can be said that, so I can just give one example of it, right? So the minute I browse any website, www.ecommerce.com, right, from my mobile, what happens is when I hit that design, it goes to my WAF, right? This is my Windows application firewall, right? It hits my firewall. It goes to my load balancer. It says that, hey, these are the servers. The request is coming better from this side to this side. So it has to go in this web server. It hits there. It will identify, okay, this request has come from this. All the DNS resolution has happened earlier, then the load balancing has happened. Now, this customer has logged in earlier, then we not need not to go to the database, we go to caching. The caching could be Redis cache, or we can use to the memory cache, or in-memory cache, whichever way you want to decide, we can decide that. Now, once the data has been reduced, now what are there are chances some API failure happens, right? How will you identify that API failure is there? Where will you go and track that? So you need to see the monitoring system, the logging system. Where can I see what is the customer Anubha logged in and so time? She entered wrong password. That is the reason the response was not written, right? We need to check the logging. Sometimes the alert need to be there, right? Some 403 error is coming or 500 error is coming. We need to see that why those alerts are coming, right? Why those errors are coming. And you need to make your system self healing. Not every time you will go and say that API is returning 200 is fine, why it is returning 500 internal server, why it is returning 403 forbidden or access is not denied, access is denied, right? That's about it. You have to ensure that if your application is deployed in APAC, then your data center has to be nearer to that. You cannot just user base in APAC and the data center is in North America, right? We just cannot do that because latency. Okay, so it's a double hopping. It goes to from one network to another network. There is a latency associated to that, right? Because the server is there. Generally, if it's less than 5 seconds, your data is available, well and good, everybody is going to love your website. But the minute it goes more than 5 seconds, people will say that, hey, I'm not gonna like this because it's just less than 5 seconds, it's gonna take a lot of time, right? So that's about it. So your high availability thing, any and there are chances that there is a absolute power cut in APAC region. What? You have to turn it over to somewhere else. Makeshift basis. So your primary, your secondary, right? So your primary availability center is one. Once there is a disaster, you have to have a DR ready. That is a disaster recovery somewhere other the same setup. That's a mirror. One web server, one app server, or one database. The similar thing has to be available there. The the regular data replication has to happen from primary to secondary. Once primary goes down, your secondary comes up. That is your high reliability center. Your secondary comes up, and that's when you see that there is no hiccup when the partners or when the customers are accessing your website. There is no problem as such because this is as good as nothing happened. And when your primary goes up, no data loss, because data loss is a biggest problem. Your data should not be lost at any cost. Yeah. uh, right set of servers, basically how whatever works for you. It's important. Of course, cost is important too. What is costing more than your business? So you're earning a business say 500K and your cost is going say 700K, then of course you have to weigh in some options, right? What is going bad? uh, your code and data, because yes, that's important, right? Because every day technology is upgrading, right? Vulnerabilities, at times there are many code vulnerabilities which are detected, and those are the SAST and DAST, security testing, penetration testing people do before they put the code in production. And for what? For this reason, right? What is a vulnerability? Because I'm working on, say for example, Node.js is hacked by some hacker somewhere in the system who's sitting in this world. I'm using the same Node.js. Tomorrow, if my code goes in production, they type this URL and they hack it, because my code is still on Node. So I have to remove those vulnerabilities, right? So that's important. And very, very important thing is avoid single point of contact failures, right? That's very important thing. Say for example, my code base has a problem, right? If I'm not able to detect that problem, nothing works. So that is when we have to work on the asynchronous programming, right? There is something called synchronous one. Say for example, I have asked for my information. Until and unless that information comes, I cannot do anything. That is one part. But if that information breaks, I cannot do anything and the system crashes. So, like I mentioned, the system should be self healing. If anything breaks, it has to have a circuit breaker. That's when I said that, we should know that what are the design patterns, what are the design principles, right, before we design this. So, all these things will be considered when we are using the right design patterns, we are using right design principles. Okay. And we have to own our source code. We cannot just put the source code anywhere. Uh, yes, leveraging technology for a startup success, I say that it is not the luxury, it is the need of the hour. This is as important as your home address is, right? So you're like you are owning a house, you have to own the technology too, right? Your website has to be ready for any business you are going into that. And why technology is important? Because it is giving you the all the benefits, right? It is giving you all the results which you are aiming for, right? So if I want my customer base to be up and ready and they want to see that, I want to see the success, it is important for us to know the technology too. And knowing technology, once you know the technology, you all know all the traits, you can figure it out what works best for you, right? So all these things are important, right?
Very true, Anubha. Even we talk about many aspects of having benefits of technology for startups. So you started with the very important line that the digital presence of startups not only sustainable, but it must be scalable.
Yes.
So and then the point you mentioned, once the startup had their digital presence, their data, their information consumed by not only 5, 10, 100, but it start 5,000, 10,000. So you must be ready for such kind of traffic in your website or app. you
Yes.
you you mentioned like your website or app must have a look and feel user friendly, and your UI rendering time, you need to consider your home page, landing page. And you also mentioned very good point that website is not a luxurious, but it is a need of an hour. Then we had a discussion on domain hosting, front end, back end. And then you highlight that data is the new currency, and every time data talks a lot, right? And then we had a discussion on SQL, no SQL, data storage, web server. And then we discuss about how we need to practice some of the practices to secure our database, to secure our website, how AI can play a important role in our website or app. And then at the end we concluded with some of the important consideration. At the end you mentioned that you need to take care a single point of failure in your tech
Failure.
team. Right. So yeah, I have a one question which frequently I hear this from startups. What is the right time to for a startup to start their digital presence through their website or app, whether it is a ideation, whether it is a market entry, whether it is a MVP or product market fit? What is the right time when a startup need to start their presence in digital world?
uh, Ideation is okay. So there are, you know, before I get into the answering mode, there I would like to mention that there is something called prototyping, right? So whenever we are going to the market, right, for my idea pitch, I have to have a prototype ready, right? This is how my website will look like. This is what you know, whenever we are going, so there is something called Figma, right? Even though if the website is not ready, they can still go ahead and design everything in Figma, right? Now, just this is one part of it. Now, when exactly, because whenever we are designing a website, the right time is when you are going for your MVP, because this time you know the requirement. This time you know, you have already interacted the customer. You already know that if your pitch is ready, now you are going to, you know, start everything, right? So first, even though if you are going for a sales pitch, you have to have your Figma, your prototype ready. So the prototype is very very important before, even before the website is ready. And once you have the prototype, then of course the MVP is, for me, to me, if you ask me, this is the right time for to start a, you know, website.
Oh, yeah, right. So, Anubha, there are many initiatives taken by the government as well as private agency. They provide us so much of comfortable access to the technology domain or server or a cloud space to the startups. Can you little bit highlights some of the initiatives of AWS or some other organization who is helping these startups to provide ease access of their platforms?
Oh, okay. So, as far as I know, I worked with Azure, right? Predominantly, I worked with Microsoft Azure, and Azure does provide the platform for all the startup or entrepreneurs, right? Wherein they want to use um, the the storage, the networking, the compute, right? Like I mentioned, that any cloud, if you go, they have these three things with them. So they have not just for the you know, entrepreneurs, they have for the school kids also, right? If you want to learn certain things, they start that, right? This is a beta version which comes, they can open it for you. So Azure does provide that, which I know for sure. So if anybody is interested, they can just log in and figure out that, you know, what are other some of the good features, right, which are available from Azure standpoint, be it hosting, be it storage, be it networking. They can learn and they can grow. They provide some some billings and some hours wherein they can just sudo code, you can put in, you can just put in, and you can see that, you know, how my website is going to look like, right? That is what some of the cloud providers they do.
Okay. So, Anubha, if you allow, can we have a one last question?
Oh yeah, sure, sure. I'll be more than
Yeah.
happy to answer.
So, yeah, we all are living in a digital world, and nowadays it is somehow very, very, very easy to purchase the domain or start hosting your website or even change your domain with one agency to another agency. So, what is
Mm.
your final suggestion to the startup? What things they need to take care when they purchase a domain or register some platform for their hosting? So what is your final remark for them?
See, any domain if you are going to buy, right? So they say that these days in 99 rupees you can go, and GoDaddy, you can just go and buy. I should not take the name, but then yeah, you can just go and buy the any domain there. uh, it's good to have a domain from the reliable, you know, domain provider is one thing. Second thing is the security of it, because you are buying a domain, and of course you need to ensure your the data which you are putting over there is a sensitive data. The security of that particular domain provider is good or not, that is something you need to really really keep in mind.
Very true. Yeah, so there are many user or our audience who raise questions in chat box. So let's take few questions. What qualities do you believe are essential for tech leader for successful drive innovation. Like if we talk about technology, like we already mentioned some of the consideration which we discuss in our ppt, right?
Yep.
So let's take another question. How do you incorporate storytelling through your startup web design? Yeah, this is a very important
Yes.
question. Like when we plan overall theme of our website. So like how we need to take care, like our website exactly define our purpose or theme of our startup.
Exactly. A very good question. So think about this way. For me, my idea is my whole story, right? Uh, Anywhere you go and you talk about your idea, your product, say for example, right? Until unless it tells a story, it's a fluid story, right? Nobody finds that interest. The minute I say that my idea is going to do this, what exactly? So it has to have the starting point. It has to have the interest in between, and what is the end result, right? So starting is basically these are some of the MVP features we are giving, right? Going forward, this is my product is going to be so and so, other features is going to, end result is this is what this is what you will be getting out of this when you use this product, or so and so, product specifically, right? Now, like I mentioned, that whenever we are going for any sales pitch, we have to have a prototype ready. Prototype tells a lot of things about your product. Your website is ready, not ready, it's okay, but your prototype tells you that your story is ready. When you go to Figma, I think I can tell this to people. If you go to Figma, you if you are a really good Figma design, the UX designer, if you have, you just put everything over there, whatever is in your mind you put there, and you see that the flow has to be very seamless, right? This is my ideation, this is exactly I want to achieve. There shouldn't be any ambiguity. The ambiguity is the biggest problem. What is it I want to achieve? If I'm very clear in my mind, no, this product is only for this specific reason, I know that this is what I'm going to achieve. If it's any byproduct they are there, I'm fine with it. I have no issues, but this is my main product, right? This is important.
Right. So one of our startup auto remove mentioned this question. Our AI image processing model on a CPU is causing website crash due to the high traffic. How can we resolve this issue? And GPU is very costly. So basically, right now they are using CPU, and they have a high traffic, and that leads to the crash their website. So what can be
So
the possible solution?
So first thing first is, if a high traffic is coming, okay, what is the size we are rendering? Okay, can we cut down on the size? Not necessarily everything. And the crash point, what is the threshold? So you don't want to move it to somewhere else. What is the threshold limit? Right? So the threshold limit we have to identify for the processing, say whatever image processing type you are saying. If it is lesser than that, we can just put the conditioning over there, that if any image size, if the this is what the question is, if any image processing size is bigger than this, we can cut down on that. Now, the traffic is also, we can put a rate limiter, right? Rate limiter is actually going to say that these many requests per second can hit your system, right? These are some of the things which we can try. Of course we can connect later on to just do that, but then yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's all. So thank you very much, Anubha. It's a really a very fruitful and very important session we had in our first day of 5 days training workshop. So on behalf of Rise Jhansi Incubation Center, we really grateful to you. And yeah, it's a very very fruitful discussion and whatever suggestion you shared with our startup. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Yeah, thank you so much. It was nice connecting with you all. Hopefully we'll connect pretty soon again. I'm happy to answer any questions. And thanks for this opportunity. I really enjoyed sharing my experiences here. Thank you again.
Thank you all of you. Thank you.